So the UFC 317 main card has finally been announced, headlined by, of course, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. But to be honest, I think the card's pretty mid. Now, in comparison to some of the cards we've had this year, this one blows it out of the water because the UFC just has put on mediocre pay-per-views all year. But this card in particular, in comparison to other International Fight Week cards, I just don't think it stacks up. Now, I want to focus on the main card for this video because comparing prelim fights is just stupid. Who cares? So let's look at UFC 317's main card first. So we have Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, top of the deck. Amazing fight, great headliner for International Fight Week, no issues with that. Co-main event, Alejandro Pantoja, Kai Kara-France for the flyweight title. A pretty good co-main event, not something I can complain about. It's another title fight, whatever. Then on the rest of the main card, we have Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape. That's a great fight. Honestly, great flyweight matchup. It's going to be exciting. I'm happy that that fight's on this card. Then we have Roman Kopylov versus Paulo Costa. This is where I start to have an issue. I don't know if this type of fight should be on the main card of an International Fight Week pay-per-view. This is Paulo Costa, a guy who has done nothing, honestly, in the past few years, against an up-and-comer in Roman Kopylov, who has no fan base. There isn't a much buzz behind him, and overall, I just don't think this is that exciting of a fight. And lastly, on the main card, we have Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Once again, not a bad matchup by means, but I think they could have done a little bit better for the main card of International Fight Week. Like, this could have been perfect for a prelim headliner for the card, but on the main card, I'm not 100% sure. And on face value, you might be like, you know what, that sounds like a pretty good card. And honestly, I would agree. I think that is a pretty good card. But for International Fight Week, I don't love it, considering the prelims on this card are not great whatsoever. And for cards in the past for International Fight Week, when it lacked on the main card, there were still fights to get excited about on the prelims. Take a look at last year's main card, for example. UFC 303, headline, of course, by the rematch Pereira versus Prochazka 2. Also had Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez in the co-main. Not a great co-main event. Anthony Smith, Roman Dolidze. Not a great fight. Mayra Bueno Silva, Macy Chiasson. Not a great fight. And Ian Gary versus MVP, which ended up being kind of a shit fight, to be honest. But at the time, it was hyped up. Like, that main card, honestly, doesn't even compare to this one. This one's way better. But then take a look at the prelims on this card. Ricky Simon versus Vinicius Oliveira. Charles Jourdain versus Gene Silva. Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriou. Andre Fili versus Cub Swanson. We even had Peyton Talbot fighting as well on the card, an exciting prospect at the time. So you can see that when the UFC doesn't deliver on the main card for a fight week like this, they tend to deliver on the prelims. And then we go back 3 years, and that's when the UFC was just still really spoiling us. Israel Adesanya, Jared Cannonier in the main event spot. Volkanovski versus Holloway 3 in the co-main event spot. Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira was on that card, and Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz, plus a bunch of stacked prelims as well. This is the best card out of all the ones I've mentioned, but still, I'm trying to prove a point. I'm going to show that now the UFC just isn't putting on as crazy of cards. And I don't want to complain too much because we've been starving for a while for something good to happen in this sport. And yeah, Dana did cook when he announced all these fights. Oliveira Topuria is a great fight. Hamzat versus DDP, a great fight. Even Kai Kara-France and Pantoja, that's also a great fight. But what I want to see is cards actually be filled out and stacked with other contenders. Like, what I find is that the UFC, they'll have a big headliner, they'll try and put the big fights together. Usually it hasn't worked, but now it is. And when we get those big headliners, the card tends to usually suck. And it's been beefed up a bit for International Fight Week, but I don't know. I'm still not crazy on this card. The fights I'm really interested in are Charles Oliveira, Ilia Topuria, obviously. Pantoja, Kai Kara-France, I guess I'm interested in, even though I'm pretty confident Pantoja will win. And then Manel Kape and Brandon Royval. I love the flyweights. I think they're fun as hell, and I think that's going to be a great fight. But besides that, there's not too much that gets me excited on this card. Maybe that's a me problem. I don't know. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know what you think about this. Do you agree? Is UFC 317 kind of mid? And is it being overshadowed a bit by that main event and the DDP and Hamzat announcement as well? Let me know in the comments. I think that's the case. Thank you all for watching this video. Be on the lookout for more videos just like this one. I'll see you all in the next one.